Okay, I'm going to say something very controversial. Weed is the hardest drug to quit. It's probably even controversial saying that weed is a drug. Most people will say, oh, weed is not a drug, it's a medicine, it's a herb, it's herbal, yada, yada, yada. But my 20-year use of weed and what I've realized talking with other people and including myself, weed can be the hardest drug to quit because there is a huge acceptance on weed itself. Now, although we know things are addictive like alcohol, cocaine, heroin, all these various drugs and pills and whatnot that are taking the youth by storm, most people know they are bad. Most addicts that are taking them know they're not good for them. But with weed specifically, people honestly think weed is not a bad thing. Weed is not an issue. Now, although I'm going to say it's on the same level that alcohol can be, or on the same level as pharmaceutical drugs, the fact is it's still a drug and should be taken either every now and then or for a short period of time to help you get to another point or at another level in life. It's not meant to be abused every single day. And why it's the hardest drug to quit, or one of the hardest, is because it's not that bad. Like I said, you can smoke weed for years and years and years. I know plenty of weed heads that have been smoking weed since they were teens, and now they're like 70 years old still smoking. And you say, well, they're okay, they're living, they're sort of, kind of healthy. I mean, you can be living and still be dead. But you can go years and years and years and smoke weed and not see any apparent obvious effects. So you don't really see a reason to actually quit. And weed also can help you live a normal life. When you first start smoking weed, you are smoking to achieve that high, makes you feel good, makes you feel relaxed. But the more you smoke, and I wouldn't say like with any other drug, they say some drugs you're always chasing that first high. But with weed, you're not necessarily chasing that first high, but you are, the longer you smoke, you do just smoke to be a normal person. You smoke weed just to wake up, just to talk to people, just to eat, just to sleep. You smoke weed just to perform the normal functions of daily life. And if you are chasing that same high, you have to probably just smoke a higher grade of weed. You have to upgrade to Kush or I'm talking old. Back in my day, it was only Kush and Dro, which I feel like Dro is real old. Nobody talks about just Dro anymore. But now with all these legal states or all these various forms and different strains, different varieties, it isn't just I need to smoke Kush. We're above that now. But point being, even if you smoke Kush or a higher grade, you smoke that long enough, you still are just smoking weed to be a normal person. Therefore, it makes it harder to quit because you've incorporated weed into your normal everyday life. You're kind of escaping because, okay, let's say you may smoke weed, you may get off work and want to smoke a joint to ease or eat an edible to ease your pain from a long day's work. So it does take a form of escapism, but it also just allows you to operate normally. I think the longer you do smoke, you get past the point of needing it just to go to sleep. You say, well, let me take a little bit as I wake up, take a little bit during the day. The longer you use, you incorporate it more into your daily life. And because no one actually sees you have an issue, because most weed heads, if you like go out and go to the store, they're gonna be like, oh, that's a weed head, unless you're just acting extremely stoned and stupid and have like dreadlocks and your eyes are all, dude. But for the average human being, you can, go out and not be high and not appear to be a weed head versus you're an alcoholic. After years of use, it kind of shows. If you're on other drugs, after years of use, it definitely shows. Weed, it doesn't show. So a lot of times we convince ourselves that we don't actually have an issue because people don't see it. And if people don't see it, I don't really have an issue. And if weed is not destroying my life, I don't really have an issue. I just smoke weed just to cool me out, relax me, help me eat, help me sleep. Is that really a big deal? Maybe it's not a big deal for you, but I feel like for me personally, like I didn't want weed to have that much control over my life. And the more I used it, the more control it did have over my life. And it was one of the hardest things that I really overcame. And most people might say that, oh, that's really, I've overcame alcohol, I overcame real drugs. Okay, good for you. I never took it that far. But there are many people who smoke weed on a daily basis that have a hard time quitting. Even the thought of quitting is like scary to them. And because, again, it doesn't send your life in spirals, you're not out of control, you don't really see it as a major issue. So with that being said, weed is definitely one of the hardest drugs to quit. Why? Because it's not that bad and it's kind of good. I wouldn't have this channel, I wouldn't be talking about, weed and talking about, weed, if I didn't or at one point think it was a good thing. I don't need people saying, oh, weed is great, weed is this. I know that. I know it's great. That's why I smoked it for 20 years. Smoked it every day for like 15 years. So I know it's great. I know. But nothing is great enough for you to use it every single day, spend your money, waste your brain cells, mess with your appetite, mess with your sleep, mess with your ability to be able to handle stress on your own. Nothing is worth that. And it's good to recognize we do have an issue and not let others or the outside view of things, because let's be truthful, let's be frank, weed is only getting more and more acceptable, and it's not a big deal to a lot of people, but it was to me, and it probably, if you're watching this far, it probably is to you too, unless you're in denial. So until next time, guys, please like, subscribe, share. Most importantly, comment below. And remember, we are all in this together. Peace.